Jesus told his followers, "Come, follow me." That leads to the questions of, well, where's Jesus heading? Where's Jesus leading us? And I don't know about you, but sometimes I look at myself, sometimes look at fellow followers of Jesus, and I wonder, is this it? Is attending some worship services, is saying some prayers, doing a couple things to serve or to help others, reading a few Bible verses, is that it? Let me put it another way. So I sometimes wonder if following Jesus is just about adding some new behaviors into an otherwise full life of work and family and recreation. Jesus says, "Come, follow me." And I can feel like it's just a bunch of motions that I go through to check the Jesus following boxes. Have you ever felt that way? According to Richard Rohr, the author of the Jesus Alternative Plan book that we're basing this series on, there are at least 3 options for where Jesus leads us in response to the invitation to come follow me. I'm going to illustrate this for us with my clothes and with different paths that I'll be on. But here's the first option for where is Jesus heading. It's the old self on the old path. This is nothing changes. There's no conversion. There's no enlightenment. Nothing changes in our behavior. Nothing changes in our thinking. That's the first option when Jesus says, "Come follow me." There's a second option for where Jesus is heading, and this is the old self on the new path. Now, this is new behaviors. It might even be new language, but nothing underlying those behaviors, nothing underlying those language changes. It's still all the same. We might have new practices that are sincere. We might have new ways of talking about things, but our underlying myth or worldview or motivation or goals, they don't change at all. Now, the final option for where Jesus is headed is when he says, "Come, follow me." It leads us to a new self on a new path. This is the total transformation of everything we are, of our consciousness, of our worldview, of our motivations, of our rewards and our goals. We're transformed by the character of the one who loves us and the one where we know we are loved by God. And this new self on the new path, it's really hard to illustrate because the transformation of everything we are, it's not just about appearances, it's about what's inside. And maybe that's my problem. I've experienced a lot of that outside changing without the inside changing. I've experienced a lot of the second option in my own life, an old self on a new path. And maybe it's a reason why I've wrestled with religion, and I'm guessing this is true for many of you. The second option of an old self on a new path produces the question, is this it? But that second option, that second path, that's not the goal of following Jesus, and it never has been. Jesus wants me to be transformed. Jesus wants me to be a new person on a new path of life. Jesus says, "Come, follow me." And today we're going to explore this new self on the new path and what it might look like. We'll do this through exploring 2 aspects of the new self on the new path. Joining heaven and earth, that's the new self, in the path of transformation. This is the new path. Now, these 2 aspects of the new self on the new path, they're going to point us to the reign of God. The reign of God is the really real that Tom introduced us to in the first message in this series. And the reign of God is critical for us to understand the Sermon on the Mount. At Sycamore Creek, we are beginning an 18-month journey through the Sermon on the Mount. And today, we are continuing in our series, Jesus Alternative Plan, based on a book of that name by Richard Rohr. Throughout this series, we're laying a foundation for approaching and understanding the Sermon on the Mount. And today, we're heading toward a new self on a new path. And maybe as you think about these options or paths, you can see a little bit of each of them in your life. I'm going to give you a moment to reflect on this idea of 3 options and, well, where are you in different areas of your life in terms of these options? So here's our first question today for a discussion. What do you think of the 3 paths, and which of the paths most fit where you are today? Your old self on an old path, an old self on a new path, or a new self on a new path? Let's take a moment and let's talk about that.